Hello and welcome to Orbiting Brick. And I first want to be clear, I am using a planet pack that rearranges the Kerbal system. It is the New Horizons planet pack that, among all the things it does, makes Kerbin a moon of the gas giant Sona, and it moves the Amon to also be a moon of Sona, but the Minmus is moved to be a moon of Eeloo, so yeah, that's why I was able to do a mission to go those two in one. But yeah, we're now launching a fairly normal craft. I'm using actually some Artemis construction kit SRBs there, and a Kerbal Engine extensions engine on the core stage, I believe. But yeah, fairly standard launch vehicle, which has more than enough Delta V for this mission. And yeah, we should be getting fairly close to SRB burnout now. Oh yes, I've cut through this launch lot since there was a lot to cover in this mission. I was able to get down to less than 12 minutes, but yeah, you're gonna see that, yeah, there's a lot to be done. But yeah, we just sent SRBs. And now the core stage continues firing. And nice liquid hydrogen core stage. So essentially like SLS, but a bit smaller. And there is the payload. It's a asparagus stage, transfer stage, and the main probe, which I have to say I'm actually really happy with the design. I use some parts from near future exploration, I believe, is the one that has the probe cores. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. Hopefully you'll see it close up later on. Yeah, we just in the first stage. And now we're burning this, I believe it's, well, okay, one of the mods I have renamed to be the Labradoodle engine, like the one in KSP2. Yeah, it's from Restock Plus. It's a liquid fuel engine. I don't think I've used it before, but yeah, I used it too for the orbital insertion stage. And that gets us into a nice orbit. And now, I am doing some interesting maneuvers here. Well, at least plotting them. So, again, Kerbin is now a moon. So, okay, so my plan here was, I was going to do my escape from Kerbin such that my periapsis would line up with where I need to do the burn, so I have a transfer window planner up. So yeah, my periapsis needs to be on that red line, essentially. That'll mean that my burn is more efficient to escape Sona, which, yeah, saves me Delta V for the trip to Eloo. Which, yeah, it's quite a lot. I mean, yeah, you saw how big that transfer stage is. After messing around with the Kerbin escape burn, I eventually got what you saw there. And we're now going to execute that. I messed up by not pointing the correct direction before time warping. But we get there in the end. And partway through the burn, the second stage depletes its fuel, and the transfer stage ignites, using a Wolfhound engine. Beautiful. And we actually already deplete the first room of fuel tanks. And the way the stage is configured, those two fuel tanks drained first, then the remaining two, and then the core drains last. This is the most efficient way. This means you carry the least dead weight in fuel tanks. I completely talked over how we deployed the RTGs there. There's really no reason to do that other than it looks cool. Which, by the way, so I have a near future technology on this install, and that makes it so that RTGs actually deplete over time. The radioactive isotope decays more, and therefore the amount of energy produced decreases over time. Which meant we actually had very limited electric charge generation when we actually reach Eloo. Because, yeah, it was a long journey. But yeah, right now we're just at the start of it. We again use those last two drop tanks and complete our Sona escape burn. And we're now on a very long journey of we're coasting through space right now. And yeah, we're time warping away from Sona. Yeah, son, it's going to, we're gonna get pretty far away from it. So yeah, Okay, over a year, and if since Asuna is farther out than Stock Kerbin, yeah, years are very long. Yeah, over a year and 1,000 days in, we're doing a mid-course correction. Still using the transfer stage. You can see just how far away we are from the sun. That's why I had to use RTGs for this, since, yeah, I don't think you're getting much from your solar panels out here. But yeah, we now begin to approach Eeloo. And so, I've slightly fine-tuned our encounter to get a nice close periapsis. And yeah, you can see Minmus is in a pretty high orbit of Eeloo. And I actually don't think it has any inclination to it. Might be wrong on that. But I believe well, it's near equatorial anyways, so you'll have to correct our inclination. But yes, we now begin our Eeloo insertion burn. And yeah, we're still using the transfer stage, which will actually last us through this burn and all the way to Minmus. And so, once we reach Eeloo orbit, we can now correct our trajectory and begin just working towards our Minmus encounter. Also, I guess I should pay more attention to this. Yeah, we have 4 sub-probes on the main probe, 2 of which will land on Minmus, 2 of which will land on Eeloo. Just doing our inclination adjustment. There's a graphical glitch where the RCS kept burning, and also the maneuver randomly changed. Those were unrelated. We actually weren't depleting fuel there. But yeah, we begin to approach Minmus to yet another correction burn to get a nice close encounter. And the entire time I'm concerned about maintaining contact with the Kerbal Space Center, since Kerbin is a moon, sometimes it's behind Sona and we can't communicate with it. Well, I guess Kerbin can't communicate with the probe. But yeah, I managed to get lucky and we were able to conduct this burn. By the way, I'm not sure if my game is just broken or if that's actually you're supposed to be able to see that reflection so clearly. When I was looking at Minmus, you could see the reflection of the galaxy there. I thought that's pretty cool, or again, maybe my game's just broken. One of the two. But yes, we're now in Minmus orbit, if I wanted that, and so we can now deploy our landers. First one detaches, and after recharging the battery, these are also RTG powered, we can ignite the engine and begin our descent. And yeah, the direct antenna on these probes is only enough to communicate with the main probe, which will act as a relay for the 4 probes. Yeah, I'm aiming for a place in the highlands of Minmus, just not the flats. And so we continue our descent. It's Minmus, it's not that hard to land on, even with the 2.5 times rescale I have. Yeah, you can see the terrain scatter provided by Parallax. And there we go. And yeah, if 1 of 4 landers has landed, the next one is deployed, and we're aiming for the flats this time. And it lands on a very reflective surface. I really like what Parallax does, especially with the Minmus flats, because yeah, you can even see a reflection of the probe, and you can see, you can see the terrain. I really like it. But now we're done with Minmus, so we expand the transfer stage, and fire up this other transfer stage. I intended to use this for operations around Eloo, but we had enough fuel in the transfer stage. But yeah, we now get a low orbit around Eloo, so we can deploy the last 2 probes, which Eloo is larger and so they need to be in a lower orbit to successfully land. So with us now in a low orbit, we can now begin to deploy the probes. First one is deployed. And yeah, we begin to descend. And we end up going for one of those valleys that you can clearly see from orbit. Also, I was talking about how much I like what Parallax does with Minmus, but Parallax completely overhauls Eeloo, and yeah, I actually really like it. Yeah, we can land on the terrain here. Accidentally start ascending, but we can then correct that. And softly touch down. Hopefully. There we go. Yeah, interesting landing spot. And then the last probe is to land somewhere that's not a valley. So I had nowhere in particular in mind. End up choosing this spot. It just, it wasn't a valley. So yeah, I guess that concludes our mission. This probe can now stay in orbit and continue to provide a relay for the other probes. So I want to thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and goodbye.